Last night, I returned from an escorted bus tour to the Outer Banks. It was 7 nights, and it almost turned out to be a disaster, but somehow we managed to pull it together. I'm going to tell you about this almost disappointing tour. It was amazing that they even let it go on, but the owner did. Hi, I'm Sandy from Sandy Over 70. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. It's free, and if you subscribe, my videos will appear on your YouTube homepage. And if you click the little bell, you'll get a notification when I post new videos. So this is what happened. I have been wanting to do the Outer Banks tour of North Carolina for years, and it just always seemed to come at the wrong time. There's really only one company that I know of that does that tour from Asheville. Asheville is on the western side of North Carolina. The Outer Banks sit out in the Atlantic Ocean. And I've heard so much about them through the years that I've wanted to see this remote series of barrier islands. Finally, I booked it for October 1st. And guess what? A hurricane came. Hurricane Ian destroyed Fort Myers in Florida and then headed up through the middle of North Carolina on the very day we were scheduled to leave. Now, it didn't directly hit the Outer Banks, but let me tell you, they had wind and flooding from the remnants of it on the outer part of the hurricane. So several days before, when I knew the hurricane was approaching, I called the owner of the company. It's a small regional tour company. It's owned by one man, and he operates it generally very well. It's designed particularly for retired people, and they really cater to that age group. Even if there's mobility issues, they cater and take care of you almost like, I felt sometimes like I was in high school or grammar school, because they're constantly watching out for our safety. Now, the company does charge a good price. However, it includes everything, except tips, of course, but it includes everything. There are no additional fees, and it includes all the meals. And here's the different thing with this company. You are allowed to order anything and everything off of the menus of the restaurants we go to. Now, I've never really had a tour that did that before. And of course, at the beginning of the tour, I was trying to eat the amount I should be eating, and by the end of the tour I was eating a lot of food because, you know, you're entitled to it, you've paid for it. It's just horrible trying to maintain healthy eating. But in any case, I did eat a lot of seafood, some fish, and I never ate a whole dessert. I always shared it with my husband, but still a lot of dessert tasting. And when you're on the bus, or coach as they prefer to call it, there are constantly snacks being passed and drinks. And every single day, without fail, there is a happy hour on that coach. And they take your order for drinks and they bring it to you on the coach. I don't really drink, and I never did drink the whole time. But everybody else seemed to enjoy that aspect of the tour. Sometimes I'd have a glass of ginger ale, but that was it. So I'm going to tell you about the tour, how we were supposed to do it, and then how it really happened. And when I called the owner, a few days before the tour, I asked him, "Are you watching the weather?" And he said, "Of course." He said, "But you know, it's not going to strike. It won't affect the tour. There might be some big waves." Well, right, it did affect the tour. It affected the tour greatly. And many of the places and cities actually that we were supposed to stay in were completely flooded, and our great tour manager had to reroute us on the go. In fact, it was so bad that we honestly felt like we were on a mystery tour, because we didn't know where we would be going the next day, because she had to make new arrangements every day during the first part of the tour and reschedule hotels, give us new hotels. Events were canceled, places we were supposed to visit were canceled, and she had to find new places. Now, the only reason this worked is because the tour manager and her husband, the tour host, had lived in the Outer Banks for 12 years and were very familiar with it and knew many people and knew how to, on the spur of the moment, make these changes that needed to be made. And that's what they did. So I would say they were truly remarkable in keeping this tour going. It started out badly and it ended up very well. I just can't think that anyone else could have done what they did with this tour. And then the other thing was our coach driver, a woman, who is amazing, driving that huge 45-foot coach through thick and thin, narrow streets, streets that were full of sand on the Outer Banks. She did it all. She's truly amazing. Later on, I will make detailed videos of all the places we visited because they were extremely interesting. Now, first of all, we left Asheville and we drove to Edenton, North Carolina, which took all day basically. And we stopped there, toured the city, and spent the night there. And that was fine. The next day we were scheduled to go to Corolla, North Carolina, spend the night there, and go to the Wright Brothers Museum. Now, we didn't do that day. We did go to the Wright Brothers Museum later on, but we could not go to Corolla, where we were supposed to spend 2 nights and see the wild horses, which was the #1 thing I was looking forward to. But the whole area was flooded, and the 4-wheel drive vehicles that drive out into the wilderness to see the horses could not go through the mud and flooding. So that was completely canceled, and we never went to Corolla. Instead, we went to Nags Head and we spent 2 nights there. In Nags Head, we did see the famous lighthouse, and we did go to the Chickamaucomico life-saving station in Rodanthe. We did see the Cape Hatteras lighthouse station. I was hoping we'd get to Ocracoke, because it's the most remote part of the tour. And you'll find that when I described Nags Head, I was pretty amazed to find the dense housing there. I expected more wilderness, but I didn't see very much. And I was hoping we could get to Ocracoke, which is only accessible via ferry boat, and they cancel that anytime there's a problem with the seas. But we did get to take the ferry to Ocracoke, and we did spend 2 nights there, which was really interesting and fun. It was a 1-hour ferry ride going over, and that huge bus was put on that not very big ferry, but it worked out well. On the way back to the mainland, it was a 2-hour ride because we went to a different section of the mainland, and then we drove to Beaufort, North Carolina. Now, there is a city with the same name in South Carolina, but they call it Beaufort. In North Carolina, it's Beaufort. That's the French pronunciation. I always get the two of them mixed up, but I will never get them mixed up again because I've been to beautiful Beaufort, and that was lovely. And we really enjoyed our stay there. So I got home last night, and I'm doing this video so I don't forget anything, and I want to take you step by step through that tour because it's a place not really many people go. It's hard to get there. Coming home, it took us 11 hours to get home from Beaufort, which was, you know, a couple hours from Ocracoke. So it's not an easy place to get to, and I probably won't go back there, and I'd like to share that with you so that you can see what's out there, and maybe you'll want to go yourself. So I thank you for watching, and look forward to more information on this unusual tour. And don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. That really helps me out also. Have a great day. Thanks.